Let me tell you something that might shake you up a little. The world doesn't respond to what you want, it responds to who you are. If your thoughts are weak, your results will be weaker. But if your thinking is strong, bold, focused, and intentional, the world has no choice but to adjust to your vision. You don't change your life by begging. You don't bend the world by complaining. You do it by thinking different and backing it up with consistent action. Now hear me out. The real battle is not out there in the economy, or politics, or your circumstances. The battle is between your ears. The battle is in how you think. Change your thinking, and you'll change your future. The world does not respond to wishes, hopes, or intentions alone. It responds to who you become in the process. Too often, people sit around waiting for change, thinking that success will arrive simply because they want it badly. But life doesn't operate that way. The universe has a way of testing whether you're serious about your goals, and the test is not in your words. It's in your mindset, your habits, and the level of responsibility you're willing to take. If you're thinking small, playing safe, or blaming others, you're sending the wrong message to the world. You're saying you're not ready. But when you begin to think with clarity, purpose, and confidence, when you take ownership of your life, the world begins to shift in your favor. People start to notice. Opportunities begin to show up. You attract better results because you've become a better thinker. Jim Rohn always emphasized personal development before anything else, because who you are determines what you attract. If you want more out of life, don't start by asking for more. Start by becoming more. Strengthen your thinking. Build a mindset that can carry the weight of your dreams. If your inner world is weak, chaotic, or unfocused, the outer world will reflect that. But when your inner world becomes disciplined, intentional, and value-driven, the outside world will start to respond in ways you never imagined. The secret isn't just in setting bigger goals. It's in becoming a person who can handle those goals. Remember, the world doesn't bend to your desires. It bends to your identity. Become someone who commands success not through noise, but through quiet consistency and powerful thought. When you do that, the world has no choice but to move in your direction. Every lasting change begins with a shift in thinking. Most people try to change their lives by adjusting external factors, switching jobs, moving cities, chasing new relationships. But they forget that true transformation starts within the mind. Until your thinking changes, your results will stay the same. The patterns you repeat mentally create the patterns you live physically. If your mind is filled with doubt, fear, and limitation, no amount of effort will produce real success. But once you begin to think with intention, confidence, and clarity, your behavior changes, your energy shifts, and your results start to align with your vision. The quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your actions. A person who believes in growth, who sees challenges as stepping stones and failures as lessons, will move differently than someone who sees obstacles as stop signs. You don't rise above your situation. You rise above your mindset. That's the foundation of lasting success. Jim Rohn often said, "You cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction." And that direction change happens the moment you decide to think better thoughts. Thoughts create beliefs. Beliefs create behaviors, and behaviors shape outcomes. So if you want better outcomes, it all starts with better thinking. Train your mind daily. Be intentional about what you feed it. Read, learn, reflect. Surround yourself with thinkers, not complainers. Speak to yourself with discipline, not doubt. Every time you elevate your thinking, you elevate your life. The world is full of noise, distraction, and negativity, but you don't have to be. You can think stronger. You can think higher. And when you do, your new thinking will build a new life that looks nothing like the one you're leaving behind. That's where real change begins, with one new thought at a time. The way you see yourself shapes the way you live your life. If you constantly think of yourself as a victim, someone who's always unlucky, always mistreated, or always stuck, you'll start to believe that nothing is in your control. That mindset becomes a prison. It keeps you from taking action, from taking responsibility, and from making the changes that could transform your life. On the other hand, when you start thinking like a creator, everything shifts. You realize that while you can't control everything that happens to you, you can control how you respond. That single shift in perspective puts the power back in your hands. Victims wait. Creators act. Victims complain. Creators learn. Victims focus on problems. Creators focus on possibilities. Jim Rohn used to say, "The same wind blows on us all. The difference in arrival is not the blowing of the wind, but the set of the sail. You can't stop the wind, but you can set your sail." That's the mindset of a creator. Life is full of challenges, setbacks, and unfair moments. But the way you choose to think about those moments determines whether you grow or stay stuck. When you adopt the mindset of a creator, you start asking different questions. Instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of thinking, "I can't," you begin to ask, "How can I?" That shift in thinking unlocks creativity, resilience, and drive. It leads to new habits, better decisions, and more powerful outcomes. The moment you stop blaming and start building, your life starts to move in a new direction. Think like a creator, and you'll find that the world begins to respond not to your complaints, but to your quiet, confident growth. The size of your results will always match the size of your thinking. Small thinking leads to small actions, and small actions create small outcomes. But when you dare to think bigger, everything starts to expand. Your ideas, your confidence, your energy, and your possibilities. People who succeed in a major way aren't necessarily more talented or more connected. What they do have is the courage to see beyond limitations. They think in terms of asterisk, how it can be done asterisk, not why it can't. They focus on impact, on value, and on solving meaningful problems. That kind of thinking attracts opportunities. It creates momentum. Jim Rohn often said, "You get paid for bringing value to the marketplace." And the more value you bring, the more the market rewards you. But to bring more value, you must first elevate your thinking. If you're thinking only about surviving, you'll never start building. If you're only thinking about doing just enough, you'll never do something remarkable. Bold thinking leads to bold action. It gives you the courage to step into challenges, to risk failure, and to grow through pressure. It pulls you away from mediocrity and toward mastery. The world doesn't give big rewards for small dreams. You've got to be willing to stretch your imagination and raise your standards. Ask yourself bigger questions. How can I serve more people? How can I solve a more urgent problem? How can I become the kind of person whose thinking inspires others? When you begin to think like that, consistently, fearlessly, and with purpose, you will notice that doors start opening, people begin to take you seriously, resources begin to appear, and the world starts to respond, not to the old you, but to the bolder thinker you've decided to become. Before the world can respect you, reward you, or follow you, you must first learn to master yourself. That means facing your own weaknesses, owning your habits, and confronting your fears head on. Too often, people want external change without doing internal work. They want success without discipline, recognition without responsibility, and progress without pain. But it doesn't work that way. The outer world only reflects what's happening inside. If you're scattered, reactive, or undisciplined, your results will mirror that. But if you gain control over your thinking, your emotions, and your decisions, you begin to project strength, and the world responds. Jim Rohn said, "Success is something you attract by the person you become." You don't attract success by chasing it endlessly. You attract it by preparing yourself to handle it. That means showing up early, doing more than expected, keeping your word, and following through even when it's uncomfortable. These habits don't happen by accident. They are forged through self-mastery. And self-mastery begins with small decisions repeated daily. You have to bend your own resistance, push through distractions, and train your mind to stay focused on what matters. If you can't control your own thoughts, how can you expect to control your future? When you develop strength on the inside, it naturally flows to the outside. People notice it. Circumstances shift. Life begins to unfold differently because you've taken command of the one thing you truly can control you. You want the world to bend for you, then bend your own doubts, laziness, and fears first. Rise above your excuses. Train yourself to be focused, disciplined, and intentional. When the world sees that kind of power and clarity within you, it begins to move out of the way. Or better yet, it starts moving with you. Every meaningful result in life begins with a thought. If you trace any success story back to its origin, you'll always find a moment when someone decided to think differently. They saw what others didn't, believed when others doubted, and moved forward with a mindset built on possibility. That's the power of thought transformation. When your thoughts evolve, everything else begins to shift. Your words, your actions, your habits, and ultimately, your results. If your current results don't satisfy you, the first place to look isn't your circumstances, but your thinking. What thoughts are you entertaining daily? Are they thoughts of fear, limitation, and excuses? Or are they thoughts of growth, potential, and responsibility? Jim Rohn often reminded us that you can't live a positive life with a negative mind. The two don't go together. If you want to upgrade your life, you must first upgrade your thoughts. This process isn't instant. It's intentional. You have to consistently challenge old beliefs and replace them with new, empowering ones. Read new ideas, surround yourself with people who stretch your thinking, and speak words that align with the person you want to become. As your thoughts improve, your behavior follows. You start making better decisions, taking smarter risks, and pursuing goals with more clarity and commitment. And those new behaviors produce new results. Over time, what once seemed out of reach becomes your new reality, all because you made the decision to think better. That's how powerful your mind is. It sets the ceiling for your success. But the beautiful part is you can raise that ceiling anytime you choose. When you train your mind to think on a higher level, your life rises to meet it. The world doesn't change first, you do, and then the world reflects your new level of thought.